When the voice of Bailey Hongzhuang fell, the expression on Nangong Xiujie's face instantly became ugly to look at. How was this possible? He had never even once considered the possibility that Bailey Hongzhuang was already married. However, after hearing the words of Bailey Hongzhuang, he realized that it was indeed possible. Ha! Bai Junyu could not help but laugh slightly. He had to truly hold back to not laugh out loud. Bailey Hongzhuang was truly domineering as always. Just a single sentence and she had already managed to make Nangong Xiujie's face turn into nothingness. In the eyes of Dongfang Yu's eyes, there was also a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang was simply too smart a woman. If you changed it to other women, then they would be at a loss for what to do, when faced with such attention. It was exactly because of this that so many people loved her. She was so eccentric and it was impossible to dislike her. Bailey girl, you are married? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head seriously. Not only am I married, there is also a child. There were children. Nangong Xiujie's eyes widened as another bomb exploded in his mind, making him completely dumbfounded. This woman, one couldn't see any traces of having given birth at all. However, it was true that ordinary women were married around this age. Ha! Cui Haoyan couldn't help but hold his hand over his mouth. Bailey Hongzhuang was simply too amazing. He was feeling pain holding back his smile. He had always thought that Nangong Xiujie was very annoying. Obviously now he felt some sympathy towards him. Now he was completely being played by Bailey Hongzhuang as if he was a monkey. Xia Jiqing and Zhang Yunfeng both couldn't help but feel the corners of their lips twitch. Bailey Hongzhuang was simply invincible. This solution was the best she could come up with. Little Black and Little White couldn't help but laugh out loud. The owner was really a master. The ability to trash talk was seriously stronger than anyone else. Nangong Yujin was a bit dumbfounded after seeing this scene. He did not expect the brothers' luck to be so bad. This was truly a bit funny. Lu girl, you shouldn't have been married yet, right? Nangong Yujin could not help but worry. His luck shouldn't be as bad as his second brother's, right? Lu Qinyue was slightly stunned and her eyes could not help but fall on Gong Xiaoqing's body. She very seldom lied, and it was impossible to lie about being married. However, the reaction of Lu Qinyue was seen by Nangong Yujin and he understood everything. I want to invite Lu girl to go for a tour. I don't know what you think. However, the next moment, Gong Xiaoqing stood up and said, Qinyue is my fiancée. She is not going with the third prince. Accompanied by Gong Xiaoqing's voice, Lu Qinyue's eyes showed strong joy. Although she knew that he was just saying this to help her, she was immensely happy that he would stand up and save her from this situation. This was enough. She was happy. The people within the restaurant were also stunned. They had never expected that the story would take such an unexpected twist from what they had imagined. The woman was so young, she was already married and even had children. No one had thought of that. The other woman had a fiancé. Nangong Yujin's eyes could not help but fall onto Gong Xiaoqing's body. You said she is your fiancé. Your fiancé. With the voice of Nangong Yujin falling, the look of everyone changed again. They did not expect that the woman's fiancé would be here. Nangong Yujin even said such a thing. That was a bit too much. The third prince has always been overbearing. It is not first time that he is robbing women. It's just that today he is going too far. In the past, even if the third prince used some means to rob women of other men, he would at least not directly grab them in front of a crowd. As such, the third prince was unable to deal with them. Everyone couldn't help but feel sorry for Gong Xiaoqing. It was a blessing for this man that he had a beautiful fiancée like this. However, they had not expected their romance to be ruined today. Third prince, Gong Xiaoqing is indeed my fiancé. Lu Qinyue stressed. Nangong Yujin's smile was a bit embarrassed as he said, since it is just a fiancé, you are still yet to be married. This prince has seen you and you are going to come with me. The voice just fell and Dongfang Yu and all the others stood up. I did not expect this. The princes of the Qing dynasty are this unreasonable. We are also learning something new today. Hey, You dare to comment on my country and the royal family, do you not want to live? Nangong Yujin was making an obvious threat. At this time Nangong Xiujie's eyes landed on the body of Bailey Hongzhuang. He always felt that she was not saying the truth. He was always hanging around women and he had a certain understanding of them. No matter from what angle he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, she had not given birth to a child. Maybe. Could she be simply lying to him? Bailey girl, you will also come back with me. If you really have a man and child, I will send for them later. Nangong Xiujie slowly said, his eyes were cold. If this was really fake, wasn't he losing face? It was better to bring her back first and then find out later. The second prince means to kidnap us women? Bailey Hongzhuang was annoyed and a bit of coldness was in her eyes. Even if she knew that Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin were not good people, she did not think they were this bad. Gong Shaoqing and the others also took out their weapons. Since there was no way to solve it with words, they could only fight it out. Letting Nangong Xiujie taking away Bailey Hongzhuang, that was impossible. I have seen shameless people, but I have never seen shameless people who does not want face. Your face is really thick. Xia Jiqing was angry and she had been furious for a long time. These scums should have died long ago. This was really not giving any face to Nangong Xiujie. Their expression turned immensely difficult to look at. The look of the people listening changed. Although they could see that what Xia Jiqing had said was rather extreme, they did feel that what she said was appropriate. When they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang got ready to move, Nangong Yujin's expression changed and he sternly said, "You dare to touch us? I guess you want to have the whole Imperial Guards as your opponent. A coward like you, I am afraid has no strength at all. Only able to rely on the so-called Imperial Guards to save you." Bailey Hongzhuang was no longer caring about ridiculing them. They had already torn faces, so there was nothing to fear. It is natural that they are from the royal family, but before that they are from the Lingyin College. If they use the royal power to deal with a contradiction between colleges, no one will want to work with them in the future. Little Black and Little White realized that she was correct. As a result, this situation was actually not that bad. If you fall into my hands, I will let you suffer greatly. Nangong Xiujie was gnashing his teeth. The move of Bailey Hongzhuang was simply too much. The atmosphere was tense and everyone watching were filled with excitement. They all knew that it was impossible to do anything on the first tower without being banned. Even the princes dared not cause problems, so they were absolutely safe in this lobby. This kind of good show is not seen often, so this time's meal was definitely worth it. To each other, Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was very cold. Without the layer of identity, Nangong Xiujie was nothing but trash. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, he would not hesitate to return the attack. Nangong Xiujie was furious, but as long as they were sitting within the first tower he was completely helpless. Noticing the helplessness of Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin, Bailey Hongzhuang was also puzzled. Even the two princes dared not break the rules of the first tower. It seemed that the first tower's background was rather amazing. However, under the tense atmosphere, a voice suddenly caught the attention of everyone. The sound of a baby crying sounded together with a black-robed man who came over, carrying a child. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, his eyes lit up in happiness. "Wifey, why haven't you come back yet? You need to take care of your child and your husband." Xia Jiqing and the others were instantly stunned. Who was this guy? They had never seen him before. Bailey Hongzhuang was also stunned after seeing the black-robe figure. What kind of ghost was he? How could Mo Yunjue appear here? The most important thing was that Mo Yunjue was actually cooperating with her. Although she had not had much contact with Mo Yunjue, she knew that he was not a person who'd help others. But now he was helping her with her problems. Awesome, this is great. Little Black shook his head as it said. This Mo Yunjue was absolutely perfect, only God knows where he managed to get a kid from. Master, this person is really difficult to see through. Little White was speechless. The situation is already a mess, but Mo Yunjue dared to enter and mess the situation up once more. The courage he had was not small. Dongfang Yu and the others looked at each other. They did not know where this black-robed man came from. They didn't know any people within this country. The other people within the restaurant were also stunned. Their eyes widened in incredulity. They had previously suspected that the words Bailey Hongzhuang had said were false. They did not expect that reality proved them wrong. In this case, Nangong Xiujie wanted to take away a child's mother. This was simply too much for everyone. However, the most horrified people present was the waiter and the manager. Since when had their boss gotten a child? They clearly had never heard about this. After Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin saw Mo Yunjue, their expressions also changed slightly. They had never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was Mo Yunjue's woman. This situation was getting bad. Mo Gongzi, Nangong Xiujie's face had a smile on his face and a faint gleam in his eyes. Bailey girl is your wife? Mo Yunjue smiled and nodded. Looking at this situation, it seems that there is some sort of conflict between the two princes and my lady. My lady has always had a child's temper. I hope the two princes will be able to let go of the matter. When the voice fell, Mo Yunjue directly handed the child in his hands to Bailey Hongzhuang, making it look so familiar for all who watched. Chapter 686, Mo Yunjue is helping them out of trouble. In addition to Bewitching, when did Bailey Hongzhuang find another husband? Xia Jiqing's heart was filled with questions. This wasn't right. She had never even heard of the existence of this young master. When he listened to Mo Yunjue's affirmative answer, Nangong Xiujie's face was ugly to behold. It was no wonder that Bailey Hongzhuang was so arrogant before. She was holding the thigh of Mo Yunjue. Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin looked at one another. It seemed that they couldn't get what they wanted today. Mo Yunjue was a special existence in their eyes, just as the first tower was a special existence within the imperial capital. Originally they thought that Mo Yunjue was just an ordinary businessman. When they wanted to bring the chef from the first tower into the palace to cook in their kitchens, the chef refused and they wanted to kill the chef. They would never have thought that their father would save the chef, and reprimanded them, saying that no matter what, it was best to not provoke Mo Yunjue. At the beginning it was obvious that the emperor felt that Mo Yunjue's identity was a taboo and they felt shocked. Their father was so strong, the other party was just a restaurant owner, but even their father feared him, showing that he was not a simple character. Neither Nangong Xiujie nor Nangong Yujin were stupid people. Since then they had been very polite towards Mo Yunjue and never gotten into any contradictions with him. Since it is Mrs. Mo, naturally we will not mind it, Nangong Xiujie slowly said. Watching how the change in the attitude of Nangong Xiujie happened so fast, the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others showed confusion. This change was simply too fast. What is the identity of this Mo Gongzi? These two princes are so scared of him. The eyes of Dongfang Yu blinked with uneasiness. They wouldn't have gone from the ashes and into the fire, would they? After all, this Mo Gongzi would not help her for no reason. Gong Shaoqing had a heavy expression on his face. When he faced the two princes he still didn't worry so much, but the sudden appearance of Mo Yunjue was too hard to understand. I don't know, let us wait and see. I accidentally broke a table, let the waiter put it on my tab, Nangong Xiujie said. Yujin and myself have some things we need to do, so we must take our leave. The table wasn't stable enough. The second prince just helped me find a faulty table. How could I ask the second prince to pay for it? Mo Yunjue's lips were raised in a slight smile, but there was no chance in the emotions deep within his eyes. Well then, we will meet the next time the two princes come to the first tower. I hope that you will come often. Seeing that Mo Yunjue gave them a chance to step back, their expressions also softened. That's good, thank you Mo Gongzi. As the voice fell, Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin were no longer willing to stay at the first tower for even a minute. Today they had really lost face. After leaving through the entrance of the first tower, Nangong Yujin's face was gloomy. I did not expect such a thing to happen. At this moment the feelings in his heart could only be described as extremely regrettable. Originally he thought that today's harvest would be good, they never thought that it would not be a blessing but a loss of face. Nangong Xiujie's face was even uglier. Yujin, do you think that Bailey Hongzhuang is really Mo Yunjue's wife? I don't know, Nangong Yujin shook his head. If not, why would he help her? I don't know, Nangong Xiujie was also puzzled. He was quite certain that this was the first time Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared in the imperial capital. If this was the case, then Bailey Hongzhuang and Mo Yunjue should not know each other, and if they did not know one another it'd be impossible for Mo Yunjue to help her. He often came to the first tower, and although Mo Yunjue came and went like a ghost, he had still seen him several times. According to his understanding, Mo Yunjue had never been the kind of person who liked to help others. On the contrary, Mo Yunjue absolutely hated trouble. Was it really like this? Was Bailey Hongzhuang truly the wife of Mo Yunjue? It seems to be the only explanation. They also seemed very matching. After Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin left, the waiter also walked to the side of Mo Yunjue. Boss. You, Mo Yunjue lifted his right hand and stopped the waiter's words. Come here and clean up. Yes. Bailey Hongzhuang returned the child to Mo Yunjue. Is this your child? Mo Yunjue shook his head. I don't even have a lady, how can I have a child? I just heard your conversation and borrowed the child from someone else. When the voice of Mo Yunjue fell, Xia Jiqing and the others felt relieved. It seemed that the situation was not as bad as they thought. This Mo Yunjue was just trying to help out. Hongzhuang, do you know this Mo Gongzi? Xia Jiqing could not help but ask. Looking at the way the two were talking together, it was clearly not the first time they met. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head as she smiled. Yes, let me introduce you all. This is Mo Yunjue, I met him a few times, he is my friend. If she had been unsure last time when they met in Longguang town, now she could definitely be certain that Mo Yunjue was her good friend. After all, she was not an ungrateful person and Mo Yunjue had helped her again today, it was clear that they were friends by now. Looking back at Mo Yunjue, Bailey Hongzhuang continued to introduce, these are my classmates from the Kanglin College. Mo Yunjue nodded slightly to everyone, it is a pleasure to meet you. Gong Shaoqing and the others also nodded in greeting. Their impression of Mo Yunjue was quite good, at least he had helped them solve a big issue just now. Thank you for just before, Bailey Hongzhuang said, as her eyes were filled with sincere gratitude. Mo Yunjue just shook his hand and said, I couldn't just watch, I hope you didn't mind. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, I understand, you were just cooperating with me. When they heard Mo Yunjue say this, they had an even more favorable impression of him. It seems that this Mo Yunjue was truly a gentleman. Mo Gongzi, are you the boss of the first tower? Xia Jiqing could not forget how the waiter had referred to him as boss, and she looked at Mo Yunjue. In her eyes, the first tower was a very famous place. Yes, I am a businessman, he said, and he could not help but glance at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang was also finding it a bit comical, although Mo Yunjue had said he was a businessman before, she had not felt he looked like one. She did not expect him to run such an ordinary business as a restaurant. This was out of her expectations. Mo Gongzi is a wonderful person who is very eloquent. The first tower is completely different from any other restaurant, Mo Gongzi is truly a dragon amongst men. Cui Haoyan praised. Chapter 688, Bailey Hongzhuang's ability. Cui Gongzi also has a good reputation. In the future you should come to the first tower often so we can all gather together, I'll naturally treat you all. Moyun answered in a calm manner. In the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang was a bit of doubt. She could not help but feel that the Mo Yunjue she saw today was a bit different from the one she had met at the Luoyun Mountains. At that time, Mo Yunjue had this gloomy aura around him, but now it was obviously much lighter. The only thing which had not changed was the pair of black eyes that was showing a dense darkness. After a bit of conversation, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others got up and left. They had been out for long enough. The two mentors and the vice president were likely to have already finished discussing the situation and might even have returned. Mo Yunjue did not say much, he just sent them out the entrance to the first tower. Hongzhuang, I did not expect that you knew people in the Qing dynasty. Xia Jiqing's eyes sparkled with excitement. Bailey Hongzhuang was truly too powerful, and even they, as her friends, did not know too much about her. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly, I have only met him twice. That he helped me today was also out of my expectations. Although Dongfang Yu and the others did not speak, they were also filled with admiration. Since they had gotten to know Bailey Hongzhuang, she had truly stunned them time and time again, but now they were used to it. I did not expect that Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujun turned out to be that kind of people. Although they did not do anything to us because of Mo Yunjue today, I believe they will do their best to cause problems when we enter the tournament. Zhang Yunfeng frowned. According to her judgment, Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujun were both people that would cause problems. She was afraid that there would be a lot of troubles in the future. Xia Jiqing put her hand on Zhang Yunfeng's shoulder, her face filled with a smile. Yunfeng, why do you worry so much? Even if we had not insulted them today, we were still destined to be enemies at the tournament. Thank you, Zhang Yunfeng couldn't help but laugh. That is also true, but we still have to be careful. The others nodded their heads. This college tournament was truly a feast of hungmen. I don't know how ugly Nangong Xiujie's expression will be when he realizes that we are students of the Kanglin College, Xia Jiqing said with a smile. I am sure it will be very exciting. Hongzhuang, when Nangong Xiujie finds out that you aren't Mo Yunjue's wife, will he blame Mo Yunjue? Cui Haoyan showed a hint of worry. Mo Yunjue had acted to save them, so naturally he was their friend now. They could leave the Qing dynasty after the tournament, but the restaurant of Mo Yunjue couldn't. If this would cause problems for Mo Yunjue, they would feel uncomfortable and guilty. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed strangely. It shouldn't be a problem. Since Mo Yunjue could make the two princes this afraid, then he must have some backing. She was certain that Mo Yunjue was not a simple character and that his backing was rather outstanding. Otherwise it was impossible to cause even the emperor to be afraid. Since Mo Yunjue had helped them, he had to be certain that nothing would happen to him. But why didn't he consider the reaction of the Kanglin College? The more he thought about their decisive attitude, the more he hated them. When the college tournament began, he would never let them off easily. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang got up early. They had heard about the Wubao Pavilion in the Qing dynasty. It was a place with treasures that all cultivators needed. Last night they had planned to go to Wubao Pavilion to look around, but the appearance of Nangong Xiujie had made them lose too much time and they had to cancel. When Bailey Hongzhuang exited the room, she saw that Xia Jiqing and the others were already waiting for her outside. Currently they all thought that living in the inn was much better than living in the Lingyin College. With the attitude Lingyin College had towards them, it was clearly a matter of not being able to live well. Now that they lived outside, they were all very happy. There was no problem with coming and going as they pleased. Hongzhuang, you are finally up. Xia Jiqing's face was filled with a happy smile as she quickly walked next to Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head slightly. She could see that Xia Jiqing's mood was not affected by the college tournament, that she saw their trip to the Qing dynasty as an outing, and she could not help but smile. She had to admit that Xia Jiqing's mentality was really good. Ordinary things could not affect her mood at all. Not only Bailey Hongzhuang, but also Zhang Yunfeng and the others felt that Xia Jiqing was a hyper person, which made them all feel much better. Since everyone has arrived, let's go, Dongfang Yu said as he looked at all of them. Wubao Pavilion was very famous in the Qing dynasty's imperial city. Just asking around, everyone knew the location of the pavilion. When they arrived in front of the Wubao Pavilion, their eyes could not help but widen slightly as they looked at the purple-black building. The building was delicate and it was obvious that the architects had spent a lot of time thinking about the construction of this building. A strong sense of power came from the building, making everyone feel a sense of respect from just looking at it. Wubao Pavilion was split into 3 layers. The first layer had medication and herbs needed by the different cultivators. The second layer had weapons needed by cultivators and the third, and final, layer had inscriptions. Not even mentioning the first and second layers, the third layer alone was enough to consolidate the status of Wubao Pavilion. Inscriptions had always been rare, and many practitioners had no way of getting in touch with such inscriptions. However, there were inscriptions in the Wubao Pavilion. How could cultivators not revere this place? They slowly walked into the Wubao Pavilion. As soon as they entered, they could see that the business was good. There were a lot of practitioners inside buying the medicines and herbs they needed. Medicines and herbs were easy to consume, and after they had been consumed they would be gone, as such the cultivators had a great demand for them. The layout of this Wubao Pavilion was very different from other shops, and it was giving a sense of comfort when one was inside. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with a fascinating gleam of praise. Wubao Pavilion was truly a famous place within the imperial capital, and the things they had here were also eye-opening. The medicines and herbs in this Wubao Pavilion are so many, and many of the things that are hard to find and exceedingly rare can be found here. It was hard for Xia Jiqing to hide her excitement. The prices were naturally very high, but it was often so that, even if you had the money, you couldn't buy them. The amount of items in the Wubao Pavilion was without a doubt the most she had ever seen. It was clear why they were doing so well. Bai Junyu's face lit up with a smile that radiated like sunshine. This Qing dynasty is a big country, the number of alchemists is much higher than in smaller countries, naturally it can't be compared. Xia Jiqing nodded slightly. This was also the power of a big country. It was very rich, it was truly an eye-opener. If you need anything, then go buy it, Gong Shaoqing said slowly. The market price in Wubao Pavilion was quite fair, and one would not suffer a loss from buying their items here. For some time, everyone's eyes were on the counter, picking the medicinal herbs and pills they needed. Before coming to the Qing dynasty, they had prepared a lot of money, so if they saw something they needed, they would be able to purchase it. Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at the things that were for sale, but she had no intention of buying anything. She was an alchemist herself after all. However, just as Xia Jiqing and the others were buying things, a familiar and provocative voice rang out from behind them. Hey, see who is here. It turned out to be the ones who can't even prove their own identity. Lu Jingqi's eyes were smug and filled with sarcasm. Yesterday, because of the mentors, she did not have the opportunity to humiliate Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Today they wanted to see the famous Wubao Pavilion. They had never expected they would run into them here. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other people slowly turned around. After seeing the group of cultivators from Beihai College, their faces changed slightly. I forgot to look at the calendar before going out today. When going out I actually encountered something so unsavory, it really made my mood bad. Xia Jiqing did not hesitate to fight back. She was not going to eat a loss. Xia Jiqing, you are really poisonous. Lu Jingqi was gloomy, but after a bit she recovered. It's better than some people who were blocked in front of the door and can't enter. Bailey Hongzhuang gave Li Jingqi an indifferent glance and tuned to Xia Jiqing. Why do you care about what mad dogs are saying? They like to bark, but do you have to accompany them? She is really annoyed with this group. No matter where they go, they appear. They were like a group of annoying flies. Listening to the words of Bailey Hongzhuang, Xia Jiqing could not help but raise her thumb. Bailey Hongzhuang was truly too poisonous when she spoke. You are right, let them bark, why bother with them? Xia Jiqing smiled and nodded before she began continuing to choose which items to buy. Lu Jingqi and the others' faces turned immensely ugly at that moment. This Bailey Hongzhuang was so good at trash talking. They had tried to humiliate Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, now the words of Bailey Hongzhuang had made them fall into such an embarrassing situation. Bailey Hongzhuang, you can't be too much. Lu Jinglin could not help but say out loud. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled mockingly. Lu girl, what you said was really interesting. From the beginning to the end, you were looking for trouble. Now you are saying that I am too much. I think your logic is really quite something. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Lu Jingqi coldly and then she said, if you want to continue then let's just fight it out. If you do not wish to fight then obediently shut your mouth, don't continue to provoke us if you are cowards. The words of Bailey Hongzhuang were very strong. This group of people were all bark but no bite. Although they were afraid of fighting, they were constantly finding trouble. As soon as it was said, Lu Jingqi and the others looked at each other and their faces turned embarrassed. They could not help but look at Xiao Lanmei, but they could see that he had already gone to the counter to pick his goods and was not paying attention to them. Obviously Xiao Lanmei had no interest in what they were doing, and if they truly became hands-on, Lu Jingqi would be beaten. In their minds the two Lu sisters could only give up their plans. Not long after, Xia Jiqing and the others had picked the herbs and medicines they needed and went to the second floor of the Wubao Pavilion. I heard that Wubao Pavilion's weapons are very famous. The quality of the weapons here are much better than elsewhere. Zhang Yunfeng's pretty face revealed a happy expression. For cultivators, the weapon they used was extremely important. The expressions of Xia Jiqing and the others also appeared interested. As their strength had gradually increased, their current weapons had become unsuitable. They needed to buy some that fit their current strength. I don't know how many weapons this Wubao Pavilion has, but I am quite sure that it should not disappoint us. Dong Fangyu smiled, the alluring peach eyes were filled with boundless charm. When they saw the dazzling weapons on the second floor, all of them had stunned expressions on their faces. So many weapons, they really had not expected this. Swords, knives, staves, polearms, whips, everything could be found here, all of which were in different quality and with different price points. Dear guests, are you here to buy weapons? A female shop assistant came to the front of their crowd, her face was beautiful and she held a graceful smile on her lips. I want to buy a sword, Cui Haoyan answered. His sword had been used for a couple of years and now there were 2 dents on it, it was no longer suitable for him to use. He had already wanted to change it earlier, but he had not been able to find something suitable. There were so many weapons in the Wubao Pavilion, he hoped to find a sword that suited him. Please come with me, the shop assistant smiled slightly, turned her body and lifted her left hand, indicating for Cui Haoyan to follow her. Zhang Yunfeng also went together with Cui Haoyan while the others began observing the many weapons on display. With so many treasures gathered here, it was easy to see how strong of a background the Wubao Pavilion had. If there was no strong background, then it would be impossible to create such a place like this. Xia Jiqing's gaze fell on a red and long whip that was laying in front of her. The long whip was extremely tough but at the same time very beautiful. It was a treasure. Jiqing, this long whip is suitable for you. Zhang Yunfeng smiled. Xia Jiqing smiled slightly but when her eyes fell onto the high price of the whip, she let go of it and placed it back. She was not favored in her family, she did not have much money on her, so she couldn't buy this even if she wanted it. Lu Qinyue was together with Gong Shaoqing. Since yesterday where Gong Shaoqing said that he was her fiancé, Lu Qinyue had been very happy. Even if it is fake, she still feels that her relationship with Gong Shaoqing had gotten closer. Yu Zhang Yunfeng, Bailey Hongzhuang, and Xia Jiqing were standing together. Looking at Lu Qinyue who was walking behind Gong Shaoqing like a small chick following its mother, the 3 could not help but sigh. Lu Qinyue really likes Gong Shaoqing. Gong Shaoqing only helped her out, but she is already this excited. Zhang Yunfeng shook her head and sighed. She had known Gong Shaoqing for a long time, and she was very clear that he only viewed Lu Qinyue as a sister. However, Lu Qinyue never understood this. Lu Qinyue has her persistence. Maybe it will bring success in the future, Bailey Hongzhuang answered gently. The feelings between other people was not something they could mess with. That Lu girl looks good, her strength is good, and she is also an alchemist. I do not understand why Gong Shaoqing does not like her. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with a bit of helplessness. This kind of situation was really enough to make her embarrassed. When the voice of Xia Jiqing fell, Zhang Yunfeng's eyes landed on her body, and a teasing smile appeared on her lips. Jiqing, from what I can see, Bai Junyu is also very good toward you. I don't know what you think about him. When the words came out, Xia Jiqing quickly sighed. Yunfeng, what are you talking about? Bai Junyu and me? There is nothing going on between us. Oh. Bailey Hongzhuang also chuckled slightly and placed her hand on Xia Jiqing's shoulder. Look over there, Bai Junyu is watching you. Xia Jiqing could not help but look towards Bai Junyu, and sure enough, he was looking at her as he smiled. When seeing this, Zhang Yunfeng and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at one another, feeling it quite funny. As early as when the school year began, they had already realized that Bai Junyu felt that Xia Jiqing was special to him, but Xia Jiqing seemed to have no awareness of this. You're all talking nonsense. Xia Jiqing left the sentence before she ran to another place to look at weapons. Bailey Hongzhuang and Zhang Yunfeng could only feel helpless. It seems that Bai Junyu wants to be a couple with Jiqing, but I still think he has a way to go, Zhang Yunfeng said with a smile. If you really like someone, who cares about spending more time getting close? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly and picked up the long whip that Xia Jiqing had put down before. Although she and Xia Jiqing were good sisters, she had not asked much about Xia Jiqing's family, but now it seemed that she was somewhat similar to her. Cui Haoyan was very happy to have found a weapon in the Wubao Pavilion. With this weapon his strength would have improved by a bit. As for Gong Shaoqing and the others, although they admired the weapons, they had no need for new ones, so they bought nothing. Then everyone's eyes fell on the stairs leading towards the third floor. There should be inscriptions on the third floor. I have lived for so long, and heard of inscriptions many times, but I have never seen one before. Zhang Yunfeng could not help but smile. Lu Qinyue's face was also filled with different emotions. Inscriptions are very rare, this Wubao Pavilion is able to sell them, it is really amazing. Let's go up, if we can get an inscription for our weapon that'd be so amazing. Cui Haoyan just bought a new weapon and he was very happy. If he could find an inscription that was suitable for his weapon, then his strength would be increased even further. Just as they were excited and wanted to go up, a sales assistant reminded them, Dear guests, there are inscriptions on the third floor, but you have to whisper when you go up. If you disturb the inscription masters, you will likely be driven out. Listening to the kind reminder of the sales assistant, everyone nodded seriously. Inscription masters were more rare than alchemists and they had strange tempers. They should pay attention to their behavior. However, the hearts of everyone became even more excited. They had never even seen an inscription, much less an inscription master. It was really worth coming to the Wubao Pavilion today. When everyone reached the third floor of the Wubao Pavilion, they were slightly stunned. What greeted them looked very different from what they had thought. That Lu girl looks good, her strength is good, and she is also an alchemist. I do not understand why Gong Shaoqing does not like her. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with a bit of helplessness. This kind of situation was really enough to make her embarrassed. When the voice of Xia Jiqing fell, Zhang Yunfeng's eyes landed on her body, and a teasing smile appeared on her lips. Jiqing, from what I can see, Bai Junyu is also very good toward you. I don't know what you think about him. When the words came out, Xia Jiqing quickly sighed. Yunfeng, what are you talking about? Bai Junyu and me? There is nothing going on between us. Oh. Bailey Hongzhuang also chuckled slightly and placed her hand on Xia Jiqing's shoulder. Look over there, Bai Junyu is watching you. Xia Jiqing could not help but look towards Bai Junyu, and sure enough, he was looking at her as he smiled. When seeing this, Zhang Yunfeng and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at one another, feeling it quite funny. As early as when the school year began, they had already realized that Bai Junyu felt that Xia Jiqing was special to him, but Xia Jiqing seemed to have no awareness of this. You're all talking nonsense. Xia Jiqing left the sentence before she ran to another place to look at weapons. Bailey Hongzhuang and Zhang Yunfeng could only feel helpless. It seems that Bai Junyu wants to be a couple with Jiqing, but I still think he has a way to go, Zhang Yunfeng said with a smile. If you really like someone, who cares about spending more time getting close? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly and picked up the long whip that Xia Jiqing had put down before. Although she and Xia Jiqing were good sisters, she had not asked much about Xia Jiqing's family, but now it seemed that she was somewhat similar to her. Cui Haoyan was very happy to have found a weapon in the Wubao Pavilion. With this weapon his strength would have improved by a bit. As for Gong Shaoqing and the others, although they admired the weapons, they had no need for new ones, so they bought nothing. Then everyone's eyes fell on the stairs leading towards the third floor. There should be inscriptions on the third floor. I have lived for so long, and heard of inscriptions many times, but I have never seen one before. Zhang Yunfeng could not help but smile. Lu Qinyue's face was also filled with different emotions. Inscriptions are very rare, this Wubao Pavilion is able to sell them, it is really amazing. Let's go up, if we can get an inscription for our weapon that'd be so amazing. Cui Haoyan just bought a new weapon and he was very happy. If he could find an inscription that was suitable for his weapon, then his strength would be increased even further. Just as they were excited and wanted to go up, a sales assistant reminded them, Dear guests, there are inscriptions on the third floor, but you have to whisper when you go up. If you disturb the inscription masters, you will likely be driven out. Listening to the kind reminder of the sales assistant, everyone nodded seriously. Inscription masters were more rare than alchemists and they had strange tempers. They should pay attention to their behavior. However, the hearts of everyone became even more excited. They had never even seen an inscription, much less an inscription master. It was really worth coming to the Wubao Pavilion today. When everyone reached the third floor of the Wubao Pavilion they were slightly stunned, what greeted them looked very different from what they had thought. The third floor of Wubao Pavilion was not as spectacular as the first or second floor. The inscriptions were all just placed on a small counter. If one ignored the inscriptions that were placed to be sold, it seemed more like a tea house. The layout was very elegant and there was tea placed on various tables. At one of these tables, 3 old men with white beards were facing each other, clearly discussing a certain issue. Their faces had long since turned red. In this case, they instantly guessed that these 3 must be inscription masters, and that they were discussing inscriptions. It could be guessed that these 3 men put all their focus on inscriptions, otherwise they would not have discussed till their faces turned red. When they looked at the counters, the inscriptions for sale should have been drawn by these 3 inscription masters. However, it is clear that the inscription masters are not selling all their inscriptions here, they had just taken some inscriptions out to support the pavilion, most likely just to keep up the agreement they had with the Wubao Pavilion's owner. Otherwise, the third floor of the Wubao Pavilion would not look like this. The sales assistant behind the counter could not help but smile after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Dear guests, have you arrived to buy inscriptions? Gong Shaoqing and the others nodded and their eyes fell onto the inscription on the counter. There was only one. They could see one pattern, but they did not understand what it did. What kind of inscription are you looking to buy? You can tell me, and I will introduce what we have, the sales assistant smiled. Gong Shaoqing and the others' eyes brightened. As everyone knew, the inscription could improve their combat ability and the effectiveness of their weapons. It was an excellent aid for the cultivators. Just as everyone was thinking about what inscription they wanted, the practitioners from Beihai College also came up the stairs. They too were very interested in the inscriptions of Wubao Pavilion. They usually had no chance to buy inscriptions. At this moment, they saw that the Kenglin College's students were choosing, and they rushed over. It was impossible they would let them choose any good inscriptions. The college tournament was just around the corner. With an inscriptions they would be able to perform even better. How can they watch their opponents improve like this? We also want to buy an inscription. Li Jingqi quickly said, and as she said the last sentence she was afraid that the inscription would disappear. The sales assistant said, "Our Wubao Pavilion has a rule, we sell at most one inscription a day." When the voice of the sales assistant fell, everyone was surprised. They had never heard about this rule before. They started to think, with so many people present, only one could buy an inscription? So many people want to buy, who will be allowed to buy one then? Gong Shaoqing asked politely. The rules for the sale ought to have a certain reason. There are two rules, the one who can answer this question will be able to get an inscription for free. If no one can answer the question, then the highest bidder wins. The sales assistant's face was smiling, he was naturally used to seeing this situation. Dear guests, you all came early today and the inscription has yet to be sold. With the voice of the waiter falling, everyone was feeling excited. They still had a chance. What is the question? There was a look of interest in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. The problem of this Wubao Pavilion could not be simple, since just answering it would be able to get an inscription free of charge. Presumably the question was impossible to answer. The eyes of everyone fell onto the shop assistant. The next moment the waiter took a piece of paper and placed it onto the desk in front of them. This is the question. When making an inscription liquid, how do you make azure spirit wood grain and tailless marble dissolve? When everyone saw this problem they were all dumbfounded. They knew nothing about inscriptions, don't even mention the question, they did not even know what azure spirit wood grain and tailless marble was. This kind of problem, only an inscription master can answer. Xia Jiqing said and felt a little sad. She knew the problem wouldn't be simple, but this was far too difficult. Lu Jingqi and the others faced each other, they simply knew nothing about it, this was impossible to answer. Seeing the look of these people, the sales assistant was not surprised. In fact, basically no one can answer the questions made by these inscription masters. However, the inscriptions were very precious, it was not a simple matter to take one out for free. After seeing this question, Bailey Hongzhuang found it somewhat fun. The inscription masters had intentionally made it difficult for everyone. Even those with a little bit of understanding about inscriptions would be unable to answer. If she thought about it a bit, she can't help but think that the elders were doing it on purpose. From the beginning till the end they never intended to give it out for free, it was just to make everyone understand and retreat. If there is no such rule, they were afraid people would complain about only selling one inscription a day. As for the result, the attention of people had been transferred. No one knows the answer, so let's just see who has the most money, Xue Haolang said. Obviously no one at the scene could answer in his opinion. The eyes of Xia Jiqing and the others fell on Xue Haolang's body. They knew he was a rich young master. However, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly said, "Who said that no one can answer this question?" When the words came out everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a puzzled expression. Bailey Hongzhuang, you should not be stubborn, you'll just end up as a joke. Lu Jingqi sneered. An inscription master was not someone easy to come into contact with and it was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to know about inscriptions. Xiao Lanmei looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in a strange way, this kind of moment was not ideal to show off in. In fact, only an inscription master could answer this kind of question. Xia Jiqing and the others were also puzzled. They only know that Bailey Hongzhuang is an alchemist, they never knew she had an understanding about inscriptions. Take the azure spirit wood grain and the tailless marble and grind them, then mix them with the juice of a green jade vine tree, cook it with fire, then it will immediately dissolve. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Lu Jingqi and the others saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was completely self-confident and they became doubtful. What was the green jade vine tree juice? They had never heard about it before. Lu Qinyue's heat was also filled with doubt. She knew about medicinal herbs, but she knew nothing about metal ores or the like. When Bai Jingtian and the others listened to Bailey Hongzhuang, their eyes suddenly shone brightly. The answer she had given was exactly what they had been discussing. This girl seemed to have some knowledge about inscriptions, and the answer she gave was so simple. The problem had plagued them for 3 days and yet they had not found a solution yet. As for experiments, they had done many before, and when they were younger, an explosion would have been no problem. It's just that they are older now. If it really exploded they'd lose their lives. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was ready to leave, Bai Jingtian quickly asked, "Little girl, what would you add?" Bailey Hongzhuang turned to face Bai Jingtian and the others, her lips curled into a smile. "Star powder." Star powder. Bai Jingtian and the others looked at each other with a moment of enlightenment. Star powder is very soft, and together with the condensate liquid it can neutralize the violent nature of the fiery ardent stone alongside the coolness of the black crown gold ore. Ji Yanma said. "Oh, I never thought about it." Bai Jingtian slapped his head. He had thought of many solutions, but he did not think about star powder before. Qin Qingyi nodded. "Just, this star powder is also a problem. A small amount is not enough, but if we use too much it will also be useless." All three were surprised. They had never before seen a young person like Bailey Hongzhuang before. What's more, this girl was only a teenager, how could she understand it so well? It was hard to encounter such a good seedling, how could they allow her to leave now? Bai Jingtian couldn't help but say, "Little girl, quickly come back and tell us." He had thought about this question for a long time and could find no solution. Now it was amazing that a little girl knew the answer when she heard them talk. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was not going to follow the script. "Dear predecessors, you have already told this young one to leave. It so happens that I have some things I need to finish, so I will take my leave." Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was ready to leave, Bai Jingtian and the other people were so anxious that they quickly got up and went to her side. Bai Jingtian looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, his face was gently and held a smile. "Little girl isn't happy with how things were before." "This young one wouldn't dare to be unhappy," Bailey Hongzhuang said faintly. "This old man apologizes to you for before. Come and discuss with us, how much star powder should we use?" Bai Jingtian smiled and did not feel any shame from apologizing to a junior. As soon as she saw Bai Jingtian, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but think of the old guys in her previous Bailey family. They were clearly the same kind of adorable old men. Not waiting for an answer from Bailey Hongzhuang, Bai Jingtian and Ji Yanma had already pulled Bailey Hongzhuang into one of the chairs. Lu Jingqi squinted at the scene in front of her eyes. The situation changed too fast, and she was too stunned. What kind of joke was this? Did Bailey Hongzhuang really understand inscriptions? Not only that, she even solved a problem that these 3 masters were plagued by. How could this be? However, all of this was true. Not only Lu Jingqi, the people at the counter also noticed this scene. They all saw that the 3 inscription masters were angry, but suddenly they all changed their attitude and even apologized to Bailey Hongzhuang. So astonishing. What did Bailey Hongzhuang do? My God! Are those 3 inscription masters? They even apologized to Hongzhuang, she's simply a little freak. Zhang Yunfeng could not help but feel that when Bailey Hongzhuang acted it was simply earth-shattering, her little heart could not handle this much excitement. Dongfang Yu's eyes were also filled with appreciation. Bailey Hongzhuang was too outstanding and always dazzling. When did Hongzhuang learn about so much about inscriptions? She even knows so much about them. Hongzhuang is my idol. Xia Jiqing's eyes were filled with reverence. In her heart Bailey Hongzhuang was omnipotent. Even inscriptions, such a difficult thing, she knew about. She had doubts about how it was possible for Bailey Hongzhuang to know so many things. Bailey Hongzhuang was only 16 years old, she was strong, proficient in alchemy, and now it seemed that she was also knowledgeable about inscriptions. Even if she had used all her time since she was born, it would be hard to be this accomplished, but it had really happened in front of her. Lu Qinyue's face was also filled with shock. From the time she was born she had always been called a genius by everyone. Not only was her strength superior to most, but she also had excellent talent for alchemy. However, only she knew how difficult it was for her to learn how to refine pills, and she never felt that she had enough time. If it was not accompanied by a strong determination she'd never have succeeded. However, Bailey Hongzhuang not only had cultivation and alchemy, she also had time to understand inscription. Was she even human? The most important thing was that she was able to answer the question of the three inscription masters. It could be seen that Bailey Hongzhuang's knowledge about inscriptions was not shallow. She should be very proficient in inscriptions. When thinking about this, Lu Qinyue felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was a real freak. She could not imagine the future achievements of Bailey Hongzhuang. What a freak! Lu Jinglin had a disdainful look in her eyes. She would never admit that Bailey Hongzhuang was good. Maybe she just happened to hear someone mention the answer to this question. At such a tender age, how could she possibly understand and answer the questions of the inscription masters otherwise? When thinking about it, no one believed that the answer was something that Bailey Hongzhuang had come up with on her own. After making sure that Bailey Hongzhuang was seated, Bai Jingtian could not help but ask, "Little girl, how should we add the star powder? When should we add it?" After knowing that they could use star powder, he had more or less understood the problem. However, he wanted to know if this little girl would come up with the same solution as him. First add the fiery ardent stone and then the black crow gold Oregon. Add the condensate liquid together for 5 minutes and then add it. For inscriptions, Bailey Hongzhuang did not have absolute confidence, but she was very confident in configuring inscription liquids. Because during the time she had learned inscriptions in the Ring of Chaos, she had learned about the properties and different metal ores and what else to pay attention to when configuring inscription liquid. Just like the first thing to understand when studying alchemy was the understanding of the herbs, only after learning the herbs could one start learning alchemy. The old man within the Ring of Chaos had a deep understanding towards inscriptions. Her memory was also very good. She was able to remember a large amount of metal ores and the differences between these metal ores in the long time she had been studying. Up until now, she still had a lot of things that were hard to understand for her, but most of the problems about configuring inscription liquid could be solved by her. However, when the words of Bailey Hongzhuang fell, Bai Jingtian and the others all had puzzled expressions on their faces. This method was different from the one they had expected. Why should we add it after 5 minutes? Ji Yanma asked. He had never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be so accurate, but he felt that this could be the correct way to do it, making him feel very excited. Star powder is a very strange thing. If it is added before this, the star powder will be added into the liquid. If the quantity is too little, it will not be able to completely neutralize it either. If you add too much, the effect of the inscription liquid will also drop a lot. The effect of the inscription drawn with that liquid will be greatly reduced. Therefore, after 5 minutes of trying to melt the two ores, when the conflict between the fiery ardent stone and the black crow gold ore is getting more and more intense, just add a small amount of star powder, then the problem will be completely solved. The exquisite and perfect face was filled with confidence. The eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang fell on the three elders. I don't know what you three seniors felt about it. Bai Jingtian and the other two had fallen into deep contemplation. What Bailey Hongzhuang had said was very reasonable. What they had been thinking about before was to put these materials together before smelting them, but Bailey Hongzhuang's method was much more suitable. Somehow this young little girl had opened a new door for them, making their vision wider. Yes, this method is excellent. It perfectly solves the problem. Qin Qingyi was simply too excited. No matter what angle he considered it from, there was no problems with this. If there was no such solution, they were afraid they would have been fighting seriously to solve this problem. Bai Jingtian smiled a happy smile and asked, "Little girl, what is your name?" Compared to the previous dissatisfaction with Bailey Hongzhuang, Bai Jingtian was now much more happy and found her extremely pleasing to the eye. Such a young and promising junior, he had not seen one in many years. It was indeed a great seedling in the inscription world. Bailey Hongzhuang stood up and saluted the elders. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang being so polite, Bai Jingtian's eyes were filled with admiration. Such young people were rare. "Bailey girl, how could you know how to solve this problem?" Ji Yanma could not help but ask. The age of Bailey Hongzhuang was just too young. If she was older, it'd not be so amazing as it was now. Oh, Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment and then thought of the excuse she had used earlier. It seemed it was time to use it again. The younger generation had previously learned a lot from my master, so I was able to answer the question. Bai Jingtian and the other two men looked at each other. The answer of Bailey Hongzhuang was modest, however the meaning was clear. Thinking like this, Bai Jingtian and the others felt that the master of Bailey Hongzhuang was in no way a simple character. This was an idea she came up with after getting an extensive understanding of the different metal ores. At the same time, she also has her own ideas. Just like the old man in the Ring of Chaos, he often made some unexpected mixes and after some time achieved good results. Inscriptions is an art that required a variety of experiments to increase the performance of the inscription liquid. Golden-plated stone powder. Bai Jingtian frowned slightly. This idea had never been proposed before, but the golden-plated stone powder really had this possibility. If this is really possible, then the inscriptions he could draw would be increased in strength again. At the thought of this, Bai Jingtian was suddenly even more excited. "No, I have to go back and try it. This method is really good." Bai Jingtian was filled with excitement. Why did he never think about this possibility before? Not only Bai Jingtian, also Ji Yanma and Qin Qinggu were enlightened by Bailey Hongzhuang's idea. Over the years, some issues had been causing them to have problems with their inscriptions. At this moment, the few words of Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to help them enter a whole new world. Some of the problems that have been impossible to solve before were suddenly being able to find a solution to with her way of thinking. "I need to hurry back and test these ideas. I will come back and talk with you later." Ji Yanma was the first to say. At this current moment many thoughts were flashing in his mind, and he had to go back now to try them all out. Otherwise, if this inspiration vanished and he forgot about it, then he would regret it. Seeing the three men vanish like this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but grin. These old men were truly adorable. As soon as they were deeply engrossed in an idea, they had no chance to think about anything else. Wasn't this just too adorable? Lu Jinqi looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, unsure of what to say. It was obvious to her now that Bailey Hongzhuang truly understood inscriptions. Not only did she understand inscriptions, she was able to discuss with the inscription masters on equal footing, and even help these masters resolve some doubts. It would be reasonable to say that at her current age, that was impossible. Bailey Hongzhuang was simply a monster. Seeing that the three inscription masters left like the wind one by one, Xia Jiqing and the others could not help but come to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Their eyes were filled with doubt. "Hongzhuang, what happened?" Xia Jiqing looked towards the exit. What happened to the three inscription masters? Not only Xia Jiqing, Gong Shaoqing and the others were all looking at Bailey Hongzhuang with doubt. This was too weird. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly. They just thought of some very important questions. Everyone listened to Bailey Hongzhuang's answer, but the doubts within their hearts did not dissipate. What kind of question could make all of them rush away in such a hurry? The cultivators of Beihai College could not help but look at Lu Jingqi. They had previously worried that the inscription masters would be unhappy if they came too close, so they dared not advance. Therefore they had no understanding of what happened. Lu Jingqi shook her head at them, she was not sure how to explain it. Okay, has the inscription been picked out? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. We picked one that was suitable for Gong Shaoqing. Xia Jiqing smiled. Cui Haoyan and the others also nodded their heads. Gong Shaoqing was the strongest among them, when not counting Bailey Hongzhuang. With the strength of this inscription, his strength would definitely improve once more. As a result, he would be able to gain an even better result at the college tournament. After all, the college tournament would only care for the first place. The first-placed cultivator would determine the winner of the entire tournament. Depending on what college they came from, that college would win the tournament. Although they all thought they would do well, they might as well do their best to optimize their success rate. Bailey Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing were the two most promising people, therefore in the time of selecting who should have the inscription, no one was in doubt. Gong Shaoqing was the one they all wanted to have it. That's great, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly. Gong Shaoqing was already strong, and now he was even stronger. When the cultivators of Beihai College saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had solved the situation so indifferently, they also found it somewhat unbelievable. As a cultivator, was it really possible to be so modest? What mattered most was your own strength. The cultivators of Kanglan College were really different, they even faintly thought that they were too promising, but they quickly let go of their thought again. Since we've already chosen one, let's leave. Bailey Hongzhuang was smiling sweetly. Wubao Pavilion was truly worthy of its name, but they had already seen it all, there was no point in staying any longer. Hearing this, everyone nodded their heads as they quickly headed for the stairs. Dear guests, walk slowly. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were leaving, the shop assistant rushed out to say goodbye. The girl was simply too amazing and deserved respect. This was the first time someone had been able to answer the question, and it was also the first time that the three inscription masters had treated anyone like this. This alone showed how amazing Bailey Hongzhuang was. After the people left the Wubao Pavilion, the practitioners of Beihai College also decided to leave very fast, however they secretly decided to hurry back early in the following morning. Even if the price was high, they would get an inscription. Since they sold an inscription a day, they still had a chance. Let's return to the inn, Lu Qingyue said. The originally happy and excited mood was a bit complicated after meeting Beihai College. This group of people truly destroyed the mood. Xia Jiqing nodded slightly. We met a group of people who can destroy someone's appetite. I don't feel like walking about right now. Xia Jiqing's words did nothing to hide anything, so the sound could easily be heard by others. The cultivators of Beihai College also heard it, their expression becoming ugly in an instant. When the tournament begins, we have to teach them how to behave. Lu Jingqi's face was full of anger. Ever since meeting Xia Jiqing and the others, her mood had been bad. Jingqi, that Bailey Hongzhuang really understood inscriptions. Lu Jinglin went to the side of Lu Jingwei and grabbed her hand, the eyes were filled with curiosity. Lu Jingqi nodded slightly. Looking at the way she was speaking with the three inscription masters, she should have understood them. Hearing the answer from Lu Jingqi, the feelings of Xue Haolang and the others changed slightly. Being an inscriptionist was a very respected profession. Being an inscriptionist meant that one had a much higher status than others. I did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would be an inscriptionist. Xiao Lanmei's lips curled into a slight smile, but it did not reach his eyes, which stayed emotionless. The next morning, Huan Chuyu gathered Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. The reason for this was that the president and the vice president of the Lingyin College had personally come to pick them up. This result did not surprise Bailey Hongzhuang, she had already been expecting it. Old friend, long time no see, a middle-aged man wearing a black robe slowly walked in. Compared to Huan Chuyu, he was a lot younger. However, the appearance and temperament showed that he was far from ordinary. At a simple glance at him, Bailey Hongzhuang had already guessed his identity. This arrogant man was the principal of Lingyin College, Jian Qingqiu. After seeing Jian Qingqiu, Huan Chuyou's face was cold. Principal Jian. For the humiliation they had suffered in front of Lingyin College, Huan Chuyu had clearly not forgotten, and now he had to show his attitude to Jian Qingqiu. If he was letting it be, wouldn't the other party just step all over them? Huan Chuyu was cold and his expression was ugly, but the smile on Jian Qingqiu's face never changed. Old friend Huan, previously I was in closed-do cultivation, so I did not know that such a big thing happened, and it made you unhappy. Lingyin College is getting bigger and bigger now, even a guard can treat us like that. It seems that the principal wants us to lose face. The voice of Huan Chuyu was showing his slight annoyance. The thoughts of Jian Qingqiu, how could he not understand them? Retreating? With the simple and clear temperament, how was it possible for him to retreat? He would do anything in his power to win this. They had lived in this inn for 2 days already. If Jian Qingqiu really put any importance on them, then he would have arrived long ago, not just now. He was just showing off. Since he was showing off, then Huan Chuyu would also show him what it meant to show off. Old friend, I am really not aware of this situation, Jian Qingqiu quickly said. When I heard about this matter, I instantly fired the guard. He dared to balk you like this, he truly had no eyes to see how important you are. However, Huan Chuyu was unmoved. Old friend, what the principal said was true. I hope you will be the bigger person and not squabble with a guard. The vice principal of Lingyin College also said. I don't believe that a mere guard has the courage to act like that. Huan Chuyou's eyebrow rose slightly. Today, Kanglin College and Lingyin College had long since fallen out. Since they were doomed to be enemies, why should he allow his students to suffer? You have to give me an explanation for this situation. Huan Chuyu had a serious expression on his face. This was related to the reputation of the entire college and the face of the students. If Lingyin College does not give them an explanation, then they will be ridiculed a lot more when entering the Lingyin College. He did not want to see this. Seeing Huan Chuyu being so firm, Jian Qingqiu and Lin Yinghao couldn't help but look at one another. They had not expected that he would be so firm about this situation and not let go at all. They had wanted to make a quick solution or this problem, but now it seemed that it was impossible. Old friend, this happened because of our Lingyin College not handling things well. I will apologize to you. Jian Qingqiu said. As for the guard daring to do such things, I will investigate clearly and give you an explanation. Is this good enough? Jian Qingqiu was quick to apologize. What he wanted was to thoroughly defeat the college through the tournament, so he did not care about apologizing for this matter. After the failure of Kanglin College once more, who would care about what Huan Chuyu said? Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at one another. On the surface this principal was quite good. If they did not know better, they might even be tempted to believe that he would really give them an explanation. However, after experiencing many things, they already knew how to tell the truth from lies. If it was not for the sake of the tournament, Jian Qingqiu would not even have come to find them. Seeing the change in Jian Qingqiu's attitude, the coldness on Huan Chuyou's face faded slightly. Then we will wait for Principal Jian to give us an explanation. What a stubborn old man. Jian Qingqiu's heart was swearing, but on his face a sincere smile was making it impossible to see his true thoughts. Of course. In the last few days, you and your students have lived in this inn. I have already prepared a place for you to stay at the college. Since the problem has already been solved, it would be much better for you to follow us back to the college. Otherwise, others might say that our hospitality is lacking. Lin Yinghao also said, the principal has done the best he could. Tomorrow is the day that the college tournament begins. It is more convenient if you are at the college already. What a group of old foxes. Are they really that afraid that we will run away? Bai Junyu sneered. Tomorrow was the day that the college tournament would begin. It was not before now that they came to ask them to move into the Lingyin College. Seeing this, it was likely that they were seriously afraid that they would leave like this. What else could possibly be the reason? Xia Jiqing's eyes revealed her disgust. We have to perform well at the college tournament. Now it was no longer just a question about the college's honor. They were up against a college that they loathed. They would do almost anything to be able to leave the Lingyin College victoriously. Haven't they just won 2 consecutive tournaments? What's so great about it? Bailey Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing, it's up to you two to beat them up. Bai Junyu's face was filled with anger. Their interaction with Lingyin College had not been pleasant so far. Also, the insult and humiliation they had suffered before, they had not forgotten. Listening to the words of Bai Junyu, Bailey Hongzhuang, and Gong Shaoqing had a bit of helplessness in their eyes. They had thought that Bai Junyu was preparing to shock the opponents with his strength at the tournament. They did not expect that he was throwing it all on their shoulders. This guy was really... In the end, after the invitation of Jian Qingqiu and Lin Ninghao, Huan Chuyu took Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to Lingyin College. However, this time was vastly different from the first time. This time the president and vice president were personally leading the way. Who would dare to stop them? All the way to the Lingyin College went smoothly, and they all saw what the inside of Lingyin College was truly like. They had already known earlier that Lingyin College had a strong financial backing. The equipment of the college had to be the best of the best, but when they saw it with their own eyes did they realize that it was even grander than they had originally thought. Sure enough, this is a royal college. This is a perfect arrangement. It's just more glamorous and gorgeous, it's actually useless apart from looking good. Xia Jiqing snorted. She was so disgusted with the Lingyin College that all that she saw was useless in her eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly understood the situation of the Lingyin College. The campus was much larger than Kanglan College, and it also had more students. However, she had already heard that a large area of the Lingyin College was exclusive to members of the Royal College. The royal family held the highest status here. They were high above and never interacted with the ordinary cultivators. As such, the amount of ordinary students at the Lingyin College was not much more than what the Kanglan College had. Under the guidance of the principal and vice principal, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were slowly led to their accommodation. It happened to be in the same building as the Beihai College students. Mentor, these students from the Lingyin College are too annoying. As soon as they walked down the corridor, Xia Jiqing couldn't help it anymore and complained. Even the hospitality was so bad. This was truly disgusting. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba's faces were also not pretty. Lingyin College has always been too much. You have been wronged by them. Listening to the words of the mentor, Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed slightly. They were already so unhappy, so they could imagine that their mentors and the vice principal were even unhappier. As long as we defeat the practitioners of Lingyin College tomorrow, then they will shut up completely, Cui Haoyan said coldly. However, the expression on Lu Huayan's face was still solemn. The team of Lingyin College is also very strong. They have a lot of strong cultivators. They suddenly proposed that the tournament was moved forward. Hearing this, the look of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked heavy. They had not entered their own rooms right away but gathered in one together. Tomorrow was the day that the college tournament began. They believed that the two mentors had something to explain to them. After all, they had absolutely no knowledge about the Lingyin College so far. The so-called know yourself and know your enemy determines the victory. They needed to know at least a little information about the other party so that they could prepare for the fight tomorrow. The strongest of the cultivators in Lingyin College is the crown prince of the Qing dynasty, Nangong Aochen. Nangong Aochen is now 18 years old. 2 years ago his strength had already reached the innate realm. Now that 2 years have passed, I don't know how much he has grown. Nangong Aochan is 18 now, wasn't he only 16 2 years ago? Xia Jiqing exclaimed. A 16-year-old innate realm, this talent was truly one of a kind. Lu Huaiyan nodded slightly. It is said that he will graduate from Lingyin College next year, so they want to use him as their trump card to win this time. As soon as he had said the words, Gong Shaoqing and the others understood that this Lingyin College is truly too treacherous. Since he would not be there in 2 years when the tournament was supposed to have happened, the chances of winning would be lower and thus they moved it forward. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongba's eyes were also filled with contempt. Lingyin College had done all this step by step, so many dirty methods had been used. In addition to Nangong Aochan, the strength of the second prince, Nangong Xiujia has broken though into the innate realm, and the third prince, Nangong Yujin is not that far from breaking into the innate realm. Besides them there are other cultivators, but these are from the royal family. The three princes are the trump cards of the Lingyin College. Because of this, the pressure on you is immense. Fu Hongba's voice was heavy. If there was only Nangong Xiujia and Nangong Yujin, they still had Bailey Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing, those two could deal with them. However, the strength of Nangong Aochan was simply too massive, the chances of winning were low. Xia Jiqing and the others faced one another. This situation was much more serious than what they had initially thought. They did not expect that Nangong Xiujia and Nangong Yujin were this outstanding. This was going to be a difficult win. Fu Hongba's face showed a bit of helplessness. That is because the first place in the last 2 college tournaments has been Lingyin College, while second place has been Beihai College. Kanglin College has placed third both times. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others suddenly understood, one after another, they had been last. It really sounded quite bad. Seeing the expressions of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Lu Huaiyan could not help but say, the reason that Kanglin College is always last, is because Lingyin College and Beihai College have joined forces. In the previous tests, the students of Lingyin College severely hurt our students, so it was naturally impossible for them to get good results on the second day. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongba's eyes gleamed with anger. If the other side did not use such underhanded means, they might not have failed, but because of their actions, they lost in this way. How could they accept it? Seriously, the Lingyin and Beihai colleges are simply too much. Bai Junyu cursed, this was despicable and shameless, the other party did not even want their faces. Lu Huaiyan was helpless, there might be injuries in this tournament. The other party will claim it was by accident, we are helpless to do anything. This time you must be careful. Even if you can't win, make sure you don't die. Although the results are important, in our eyes, you are more important, Fu Hongba said seriously. When the words came out, everyone's hearts were touched. Compared to many mentors who only cared about results, Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongba always put their safety first. The strongest amongst the cultivators of Beihai College is Xiaolan Mei, he has also broken through to the innate realm. Once you meet him you have to be extra careful. As the two mentors explained the situation of the different students from the 2 colleges, the mood of everyone turned heavy. Lingyin College had 2 cultivators in the innate realm, there was also one in the Beihai College. These 2 colleges had united, while Kanglin only had Bailey Hongzhuang at the innate realm. As a result, they were in a difficult position. Gong Shaoqing was right on the verge of breaking through the innate realm, but a slight bottleneck was in the way. It was a pity that breaking through to the innate realm required opportunities. Only by grasping the opportunity could they successfully break through, otherwise they had no other choice than to wait. Although the face of Gong Shaoqing was expressionless, his heart was a bit eager. If he could successfully break into the innate realm, then their success rate would increase a lot. In the Xingxian continent, a contract beast is also a part of the cultivator's strength, and it can be used without it being considered cheating. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were flashing in deep thought. I don't know the rules yet, but I will know when the tournament starts tomorrow. If you can bring Baisher to the tournament, naturally that would be for the best. If you can't, then there is nothing to do about it. After all, this is a college tournament, they should officially care about fairness, so they might not allow pets to fight. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others gathered outside the house early in the morning. Here, Huan Chuyu, Lu Huaiyan, and Fu Hongba stood and waited for them all. This college tournament begins today. Tomorrow is also a tournament, the third day is the alchemy tournament, and on the final day is the finale. Huan Chuyu said slowly. Since they went to the ruins, Lu Qingyue had focused fully on refining medicines, so she had a chance of winning this tournament. Not only Lu Qingyue, Lingyin College and Beihai College also had cultivators who participated in the alchemy tournament, so today's fight had 7 people from each college, a total of 21. Amongst these 21, Nangong Aochin had already advanced to the final, making it so that today, only 20 college students would participate in the battles. This time the fight is related to the reputation of our school. I hope you can all do your best and get good results. Huan Chiyou's voice was solemn, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others with a deep pride. While Nangong Aochin was the most valued student in Lingyin College, these students were the most valued in Kanglan College. Vice Principal, rest assured, we will do our best. Bai Junyu was the first to answer, his expression serious. This matter was not only about the college's reputation, but also for their own honor and disgrace. Bailey Hongzhuang, Gong Shaoqing, and the others nodded their heads. Now that they were here, there was no way to back away. Seeing the expressions on Gong Shaoqing and the others, the faces of Huan Chuyu and the 2 mentors were all happy. You just need to do your best, I believe in your strength, but your life is the most important. Although the tournament states you can't kill, it is hard to avoid getting yourself hurt. You should be careful. We understand. Since everyone is ready, let's set out. Huan Chuyou's face was filled with a faint, prideful expression as he led Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to the ground where the tournament was being held. Today was the most lively day in the entire Lingyin College because of the college tournament. Early in the morning many students rushed to the contest grounds, they wanted to witness the glory of Lingyin College. The princes, which are hard to see on normal days, would also appear. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others came to the contest grounds, they saw a horde of people. All the students had gathered here, it was impossible to see what was going on inside. Fortunately, a passage had been cleared for them to enter, otherwise it would have taken them a long time to squeeze through. There really are many students at the Lingyin College, Zhang Yunfeng couldn't help but sigh. It is not only students of Lingyin College, even normal citizens can enter and watch, that's why there are so many, Cui Haoyan said while shaking his head. Chapter 7:11, Princess Nangong Yuer. Listening to Cui Haoyan's words, everyone was somewhat stunned. It seems that Lingyin College is certain of success and wants more people to see their victory. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrow raised slightly. A college tournament was usually only for the students of the college, outsiders should not be allowed inside to watch. Lingyin College's move was a bit unexpected. Not only this, Lu Qingyue said slowly, it is said that tomorrow, at the final, the Qing dynasty's emperor will also come and watch, they are very sure of themselves. Together with the end of Lu Qingyue's sentence, the expression on the others' faces changed again. It seemed that the Lingyin College wanted to make this into a big matter. Nangong Aochin is the crown prince of the Qing dynasty. He will be extraordinarily strong in battle, we have to be very careful. Gong Shaoqing said slowly. After Bailey Hongzhuang and her friends walked into the dense crowd of people, they saw that the cultivators from Lingyin and Beihai College had already arrived. The faces of these people held a deep smile. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, their smiles even showed a dense sarcasm. The students of Kanglan College are really important, they showed up last. Lu Jingqi said coldly. A woman from Lingyin College listened to her words, after which she said, they know that they will be shamed by coming here today. Naturally, they won't come early. The woman was wearing a pink and purple dress. Her skin was fair and white, and her appearance was outstanding. A strong pride and elegance could be seen in her aura. This was the royal princess, Nangong Yuer. They are too much. How bad was Xia Jiqing's temper? The moment she heard the words of Nangong Yuer and Lu Jingqi, she couldn't help but want to argue. However, Bailey Hongzhuang pulled her back and said, "They have a lot of people. We won't be at an advantage, so don't let them use us to start a fight. It is better to say they can see the real fight on stage." Xia Jiqing's face turned a myriad of colors, but she knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was correct. If they fight now, then that is not a good thing. I pray for me and Lu Jingqi to be in the same group. I have to tear her mouth apart. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with anger. This annoying woman, she definitely would not allow her to be happy. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, and the eyes she used to look at Lu Jingqi were cold. This woman was arguing all day long, but her actual strength was so weak. If Xia Jiqing really had the opportunity to be in the same group as Lu Jingqi, that would be good, then she could be taught a lesson. Gong Shaoqing and the others directly ignored the words of the people around them. In this kind of environment, only their strength would be able to show their qualities. Like Lu Jingqi, they thought she was just a clown jumping around. She did everything to see him often, but even though he avoided her, she never gave up. For news about Mo Yunjue, they believed that Nangong Yuer would definitely know more than them. "Yuer, have you seen Mo Gongzi recently?" Nangong Yujin asked. Hearing the question, Nangong Yuer's eyes flashed in a strange color. "Third brother, why do you ask me about Mo Gongzi?" She knew about the character of her third brother. He would never ask without a reason. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up into a sneer as she answered, "The results of the college tournament is still unknown. I only know for sure that you will be defeated by me." When the words came out, Lu Jingqi's face suddenly became gloomy. The words of Bailey Hongzhuang were impossible to refute. The referee also felt the spark of dislike between the two of them, and immediately said, "Let the fight begin." Chapter 716, Victory. When the voice of the judge fell, the strength of Bailey Hongzhuang soared into the sky, and she poured her yuanli into her legs. Although Lu Jinglin knew that she was not the opponent of Bailey Hongzhuang, she had to show her strength. In any case, she had to persist for a while. Even so, losing to a student from the Kanglin College was already a great shame to her. Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly took a step forward, a violent fist burst into the air, and without hesitation, it shot towards Lu Jinglin. Lu Jinglin's figure quickly retreated. Her strength is not as good as Bailey Hongzhuang's, facing her directly would be suicide. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had already known she would retreat. How could she possibly let her escape? The audience saw Bailey Hongzhuang's fist fall directly onto the chest of Lu Jinglin. Direct hit. Lu Jinglin could not help but retreat several steps. Her face was pale and her eyes flashed with horror. She clearly knew that she had already dodged, but Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be able to guess her movements. The position of the fist was aimed at the place she had dodged towards. How could this be? Lu Jinglin found it hard to believe. Had Bailey Hongzhuang already guessed her reaction? When she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, she saw a slight smile on her face. The blow was truly not difficult for her. If she wanted to deal with Lu Jinglin before she entered the ruins, perhaps she would have needed some thought and consideration, but now, there was simply no problem crushing her. The strength of Bailey Hongzhuang was already stronger than that of Lu Jinglin. On top of this, she was not showing any mercy, so Lu Jinglin found it hard to bear. The scene back in Longguang City seemed to be replayed in Lingyin College. Lu Jinglin only felt that her internal organs had been shifted around, the pain that emerged from the body was intense. Just as she was ready to stand up, Lu Jinglin felt a burst of blood rush to her throat, making her vomit blood. The previous injury that Bailey Hongzhuang had given her had not completely vanished. At this moment, with another fist attack, the situation was even worse than the first time. This is why they had done everything to not fight Bailey Hongzhuang before the tournament. If they were injured by Bailey Hongzhuang before the tournament began, they would be at a direct disadvantage. However, Lu Jinglin did not expect her luck to be so bad. The last thing she wanted was to face Bailey Hongzhuang. She had not expected that this would happen. She wanted to continue fighting, but she could understand that with her current condition, it was simply impossible. Bailey Hongzhuang won. The judge announced without hesitation. Before the battle started, she had never thought that this would be the result. Defeated in one move. Just one attack. She had been looking down on the Kanglin College, but now she was simply defeated like this, in one move. This was truly embarrassing. The audience was also stunned. Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Jinglin are both beautiful women. There were many people who paid attention to their fight. They thought that since the Beihai College had always pressured the Kanglin College, the winner of this battle should be Lu Jinglin. However, no one thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would win the first match so overwhelmingly. Chapter 717, Slapping Faces. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly and elegantly walked down the arena and back to the place allocated to the Kanglin College. Amongst all the ones battling, she was the one who finished the battle first. The other cultivators were still on the arenas and battling with all their might. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba saw that Bailey Hongzhuang solved the battle so fast, their eyes showing some strange gazes. Although they knew it was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to lose, it was shocking that the battle ended in only one move. Isn't it said that the cultivators of Kanglin College are weak? That Bailey Hongzhuang used a single attack to defeat Lu Jinglin, is this considered weak? Some of the citizens could not help but gossip after seeing this scene. All along, under the illusion that the Lingyin College had painted of Kanglin College, then they all thought that they were weak and powerless. They even thought that the college should be closed directly, that it was a mistake to continue existing. One attack to defeat their enemy, this proved that her strength was not just a bit stronger than Lu Jinglin. That's not necessarily so. Maybe this Lu Jinglin is simply too weak. Look at the other arenas, who is losing that fast? You said it right, this Lu Jinglin is simply too weak. Lu Jinglin, who originally had a bad mood after losing, had an ugly face after hearing how people were talking about her. She had really become useless now. This was making her unable to accept. The proud her was filled with frustrations. At Beihai College she was a genius, pursued by all. Now she was said to be weak. This was a fatal blow. Mo Xinghai and Duan Yinggu apparently had not expected that Lu Jinglin would lose so fast in a face-to-face contest. This was truly losing face for the Beihai College. The two were too angry to even bother about Lu Jinglin and her injuries. Even if she was going to lose, she could lose in a much better way. The way Lu Jinglin lost was like a slap to their faces. They used to mock the Kanglin College for being the weakest amongst all the colleges. Now that they failed in this way, they were angry. Bailey Hongzhuang did not care about Lu Jinglin, her eyes were observing the other platforms. Gong Shaoqing's strength was good. At this moment he was pressuring his opponent. She was quite certain that he would win the battle after a short amount of time. The situation of Dong Fangyu was also quite optimistic. Although the opponent was quite strong, the two of them were equal, but there was a confident smile on Dong Fangyu's lips that made her understand that he was certain of his victory. The situation of Zhang Yunfeng and Bai Junyu was not too optimistic. Zhang Yunfeng's opponent was Nan Gong Yuer. Although Nangong Yuer was a spoiled princess, her strength was not exaggerated. The tournament clearly showed that the Lingyin College had some skills. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was focusing on the battle between Lu Jingqi and Xia Jiqing, Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu walked up to her side, as they had finished, and won, their battles. Hongzhuang, you were so fast at finishing the battle. Dong Fangyu's face was filled with emotion. He had seen her finish the battle before his had even begun. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.